Okay, it's 7 o'clock, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the planning board meeting, March 19th. Would you join in a pledge of allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay,
Mr. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Arena?
Here.
Mr. Kashani?
Here.
Mr. Kosel?
Here.
Mr. Malta?
Here.
Mr. Mixel?
Here.
Mr. Rampy?
Here.
Mr. Hausen?
Here.
Mr. Zepp?
Here. Okay. And we've got 5 schedule items and 1 table, and kind of nice to be able to say that nothing's been canceled or tabled, so everything's on tonight, so I don't have to get anybody grumbling at us because something canceled and showed up anyway. Let's see, why don't we just move right ahead and get started, I guess. Dave, you want to start with the first one there, please?
1086 5 Mile Line Road accessory building located at 1086 5 Mile Line Road. Applicant David Scott is requesting preliminary final approval, public hearing to construct a 30 by 48 storage accessory building on a 3-acre parcel located in an R3 district, single family, on the recorded of town of Webster.
David Scott, 1086 5 Mile Lane Road.
Got all your paperwork now, huh?
How's it look?
Alright. Well, the location of it, I think is something we kind of looked at the last time, but what's the building gonna be, where's it, metal siding?
Metal siding.
And on your drawing, you show in the front part, the greenhouse, is that there now or is that proposed?
The greenhouse?
Isn't that what's on it, or am I looking at?
No, the greenhouse is better removed.
Well, that's been removed out, oh, so that's not it, no. Let's see.
I think that's in the footprint of the old greenhouse, Is there a shed in the backyard? I've seen one when I drive by.
Yes. It's a 12 by 12 shed.
Yeah, I think you have a permit for that.
Yep.
Put that in. All right. Now what's the square footage of this? I kind of calculated, I came up with about 1,200 square feet, is that?
Yeah, 30 by
right?
40.
Right?
30 by 48, I'm sorry.
Okay. And you got the judge and stuff in the back. And, I don't know, any comments on it?
Buell's block garage, it shows on the survey map, that's one. And their new location is really attractive on that house.
Exactly that nice.
Okay, there's a, all right, plot plan should be submitted indicating the location of the proposed building. Structure of the proof should be conditioned not to be used for commercial, so you just planning on using it for your own stuff, right?
Yep, it's a garage and storage.
Is there gonna be heating, heat, water out there?
Possibly in the future, yes.
I didn't hear that.
Possibly in the future, yes.
All 3 or just?
Yeah, all 3.
And one of the things recommending cleaning up the site a little bit, because I was back there one day, it was snow, but there's a bunch of stuff laying in the back over there.
Yes.
You're gonna be cleaning up the yard?
Oh, yes, one of the purposes of building the
You got a good sized yard.
Yeah.
No question, it's a big yard. It's set back, so. Alright. Anybody, any questions or concerns?
The building does effectively replace the old garage.
I'm sorry.
The building does replace the old garage that was in.
It replaced, yeah.
Okay. Anybody, any other questions? If not, it is a public hearing, so I don't know if there's anyone here wishing to speak either for or against this project. If not, then we'll close the public hearing, bring it back up. Concerns, Dave, anything? No? Just another garage. It's a good sized piece of property. But again, it's a little unsightly in terms of, trash laying around.
Yeah, we can do a lot of work to it, so.
Yeah.
Clean it up. quite a lot of work.
Okay.
The size of the building meets code.
Yeah, it's about 1,200 square feet.
Sheets.
All right. All right. We'll proceed with that. Like you see,
Town of Webster planning to consider request by applicant David Scott to construct a 30 by 48 square foot detached garage to replace an existing structure located at 1086 5 Mile Line Road in R3 zoning district. The planning board classifies the proposed action as a type 2 action under section 617.5C2 of the state environmental quality review regulations, and therefore is not subject to further review.
I'll second.
And Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Arena?
Aye.
Mr. Rampy? Mr. Mixel?
Aye.
Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Malta? Mr. Kashani?
Okay, so the applicant is in for preliminary and final, so anyone want to make a motion for preliminary approval?
I'll make a motion for preliminary approval for 1086 5 Mile Line Road, the 30 by 48 accessory building, subject to PRC comments. Conform that the building conforms to the, yeah, the plot plan should be also submitted indicating the location of the proposed building, the structure. Should be conditioned not to be used for commercial purposes or living space. The property should be cleaned up. All site work to be in compliance with the standards of the town of Webster. With all regulations of any federal, state, county, town agencies. That's it. Approval subject to drawing, no drawing number, but submitted building drawings on March 18th.
You need, is that adequate for you, Dan, the drawing?
I thought he had subdivision drawing number 1601-6G,
Oh, okay.
dated August 18th,
Yep.
2016.
That's it. That's on the subdivision.
Can you ask me one?
Which, okay, can you go through 225-36A1 through 5 and enumerate how it complies with those provisions of the accessory building? I'll give it to you.
As far as setting back and stuff?
Yeah, put it on there.
Yeah, I probably don't have one of the sheets here.
I'll give it to you, Sorry, I have to be a nerdy lawyer.
Yeah.
So you need to go through each one of these and just tell me why it complies.
The placement of any such building should conform with all the setback requirements applicable to the building in the district. Being so that it doesn't need any variances, so it would be set in the right location.
Yes, okay.
Yep.
All right. No such building should be placed nearer to the front property line than the rear line and footprint of the main building or residential under lot, under such lot line.
Conforms to that.
That conforms to that. No such building should be larger than 25% of the square footage of the main building or inhabitable floor area of the residence upon such lot, or 2% of the lot size, whatever is larger. In no case should the accessory building exceed 2,500 square feet in size.
It conforms to that. I don't know, it's okay, it's before you're located too, so.
All right, you want me to read it?
If you want to go ahead.
Oh, that's a rush to read the way
The accessories.
where the accessory building is more than 500 square feet in the area, the planning board should review the application, therefore under chapter 228, except that provision of 228-4 sketch plan review should not be required, forms. No accessory building should be larger than the main structure. In no circumstances should the zoning district maximum height be exceeded. The height as defined by the Webster Town Code should be determined at the location of the accessory structure. In no circumstance or event should such building exceed 20 feet in height. Agricultural buildings on working farms should comply with the height requirements of the town of Webster zoning district in which they are being constructed. That conforms. Roger, I have to do B, do I?
No, because because he's got a shed there and he's got a permit for it. That's good.
Yes, motion.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Arena?
Aye.
Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Rampy? Mr. Mixel?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Lawson?
Aye.
Mr. Kashani?
Alright. Okay, need a motion for a final.
Make a motion for final on the 1086 5 Mile Line Road, 30 by 48 accessory building, subject to PRC comments, subject to preliminary approved conditions, subject to government fees, subject to Department of Public Works approval. Significant construction should occur within 1 year as deemed by the planning board to expire on March 20th. March 19th, 2020. The conditions of preliminary final approval are clicked on the cover page and find with designated plans. Subject to resolution of final approval minutes. We are subject to drawing number 160126 GB dated August 18, 2016. That's final approval.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Arena?
Aye.
Mr. Mixel?
Aye.
Mr. Rampy?
Aye.
Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Malta?
Aye.
And Mr. Kashani?
Okay, guess you're all set. Thank you. Good luck.
Okay, if anyone is going to speak at the podium tonight, please make sure you sign in at the lectern back there, his name and address.
Okay, go ahead. This is on schedule.
Northridge Church with building addition located 780 Salt Road. Applicant Northridge Church has requested a determination that the proposed use is similar and incidental and preliminary final site plan approval public hearing to construct a 10,500 square foot building addition to the existing building. Total area occupant for church functions will be 35,242 square feet on a 9.13 acre parcel located in a IN district industrial under the code of town of Webster.
Hi, I'm Steve Perkos with CPL, an architect of CPL, and with me tonight is Nate Miller, pastor with Northridge Church. I'm going to let Nate give a brief introduction to the goals and intent for this project, and then I have some items to respond to that Don gave us over the last few days to try to clarify any outstanding issues, and then we're here to answer any questions you might have. So here's Nate.
Thanks, Steve. Like you said, yeah, my name is Nate Miller, one of the pastors at Northridge Church. We're one church, but we have 4 locations across the Rochester area. I have the privilege of leading our Webster campus. For the last 4 years, we've actually met at Willink Middle School in the mornings, and it's been great to be able to build a relationship with the school and to have a positive impact in the community. We also realized that that's not a permanent option for us moving forward, and so we started with around 300 people. Currently now 600 people, we've almost doubled in size, and so we realized we needed a place to be able to call home, to have a permanent structure, a place to have 24/7 access, which led us to look at 780 Salt Road and see the potential there at that facility to accommodate our growth, to be able to operate as a church, to have a place to call home in the Webster area, and we feel like it suited a lot of the things that we were looking at when we were looking at a facility for our church, which has really led us to where we're at today.
Okay, last week, Don forwarded us some comments to maybe consider discussing tonight. Obviously, one of them is parking. As Nate mentioned, the congregation has grown to 600 members in this area. So they were looking for a site that could accommodate those parking needs. Based on the statistics that they've had from their other campuses and the number of seats we have in the auditorium, the need for this site is about 305 parking spaces, which includes accessible spaces. We've also created 3 drop-off zones around the perimeter of the building, one for new members. The side entrance is for more administrative functions, and the rear entrance is for families to enter into the classroom environment prior to the service. actually, this grayed out area you're seeing is the area of asphalt improvements around the property, but they also own all these parking spaces around the south end of the property. There are other parking spaces on the adjacent property. If in the future they ever need to consider expanding, they would enter a shared common access agreement with those adjacent property owners at the time. But currently, the size of the auditorium is dictating their parking needs, and they don't plan on increasing the size of the auditorium. There was an issue to discuss, or to update our drawings on the sanitary lateral leads, which we have no problem adjusting to meet your municipal standards. There was a question regarding the kitchen. They will be serving coffee and some baked goods in their cafe environment. And there is a servery next to that cafe environment. The servery is simply to bring in prepared foods. Thank you. More relaxed. To bring in prepared foods, bagels, baked goods, cookies, and then the only thing they would be preparing in the facility is coffee, tea, cocoa, things like beverages for that matter. If that changes through the course of our design development and becomes more of a commercial kitchen, we would certainly go in front of the Department of Health and get the proper approvals for that. And lastly, we've shown some signage. It is our intent, once a signage contractor is on board, to have them secure the signage permits. We are showing large signage at this time because off of Salt Road, there's a 500-foot distance before the face of our building, so we're kind of pretty far back from the road. And there's also, we would like to be able to see some logo from Ridge Road, which is a couple thousand feet away. So if that's possible going through the process, we understand we would probably need a variance for that, but that is something we would handle in a separate application, a separate permit process with the sign vendor at a separate time. We understand no signage would be approved as a part of this this process right here that we're in front of you for. And we understand we're in an industrial zoning. It's our understanding Calvary Chapel of Webster is down the road, also in an industrial zoning. So we feel we're compatible with the intent of what has happened in the past as far as approvals. They only operate on Sundays for their full services. The building would be used throughout the week for ancillary functions, committee gatherings, things like that, but the bulk of the congregation will come on Sundays. So we're here to answer any more questions you may have, and anything else we want to discuss tonight? Okay. So we thought metal siding would be appropriate in this case. Our vertical element is going to have a replicated wood look in metal panel to try to soften it up a little bit. And we chose a very dark panel at the top to contrast any signage, again, because we're so far away from the road. That just helps us with the viewability.
I don't have an issue with it, the metal, because of the location of it. It's way back and it's kind of tucked away, but if it was on the front, that would not.
Correct, I agree.
So,
As an architect, I agree.
yeah. Okay. Anything, anybody else? All right.
I think it's a great use of the space.
Huh?
I drive by that every day.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll do something there.
Because the addition around the building is over 10,000 square feet, that's what I'm doing, listed category. So the motion for unlisted action. Town of Webster Planning Board consider a request by applicant Northridge Church to construct a 10,510 square foot building addition. The planning board determined that the proposed action is an unlisted action under section 617 of the state environmental quality review regulations. The planning board determined that the action is subject to a single agency review pursuant to part 617.6B1 of SECR, and it is the most appropriate agency for making the determination of significance. The planning board therefore designates itself lead agency for the proposed action. The planning board has given consideration to the criteria for determining significance as set forth in section 617.7C1 of SECR, and has 1, considered the information contained in the short environmental assessment form part 1 dated January 1st, 2019. Number 2, consider public comments directed to the planning board during the public hearing on March 19th, 2019. And number 3, completed Part 2 of the environmental assessment form. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Webster Planning Board hereby determines that the proposed action will not have a significant adverse effect on the environment for the reasons set forth in the attached notice of determination of non-significance. Be it further resolved that the Town of Webster Planning Board is authorized to take all actions reasonable and necessary to file a negative declaration and discharge the Town of Webster Planning Board's responsibility as lead agency for this action. Be it further resolved that the Town of Webster Planning Board, based on the information and analysis above, the reference supporting documentation, the discussions of the action by the Town of Webster Planning Board, as documented by the minutes for this meeting, that the proposed action will not result in any significant environmental impacts. Be it further resolved that the Town of Webster Planning Board therefore makes a determination of non-significance. Be it further resolved that the Town of Webster Planning Board, based on the above reasons, issues a negative declaration as evidence of this determination.
Second.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Rampy?
Aye.
Mr. Mixel?
Aye.
Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Malta?
Aye.
Mr. Arena?
Aye.
Mr. Kashani?
Okay. So, make a motion for preliminary approval?
Motion for preliminary approval. Subject to PRC comments. I don't know if the letter of credit's got to be posted today. Yep. Subject to letter of credit posted with the Town of Webster. All improvements should be constructed according to the specification of the Town of Webster. Site work to be in compliance with the standards of the Town of Webster. Comply with all requirements of any state, county, or town agency. Address drainage, lighting, signage, landscaping, buffering, berming, and snow storage. And approvals are subject to drawing number.
There's a small number on there, it's 15011.00,
Yeah.
project number. Is that correct? I'm
Yes,
looking at your
yes,
small
that's
number.
project number.
And it's dated.
February 21, 19.
It's a motion.
I'll
Hold on,
second.
1 second. As part of the approval process, you're moving under 225-20-19 in town code.
I don't have the code in front of me.
What's my point? Well, the planning board has to make a determination that the use is similar to other uses that are permitted in the district and will not be detrimental to the other uses within the district. So you have to, wait, hold on, let me finish. You have to tell me why it's of the same the uses of the same general character and why it's permitted. That's what you have to tell. You can't just read it.
Why it's permitted.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to put the, maybe, it's similar uses in the neighborhood, or is what's the other church?
Calvary Chapel of Webster.
All right, similar use as Calvary Chapel
Of Webster on 77
Webster Road.
Basket Road.
And
That's why you think it's similar, because
it's.
Another
there's
church.
Another church.
that's your rational basis.
It's not industrial, obviously, I don't know, right? You can do
It's
that.
not industrial, it's a low-intensity use for the site. Its main operations is on Sunday, which doesn't compete with any neighboring.
Your reasons are all wonderful, but it has to come from my board.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were asking me.
Thanks for the.
I appreciate the comments, but
I think they said ditto, ditto, ditto.
I know, it's just.
just say ditto, that's fine with me.
Just add that in there, that's all.
What he said. Whatever he said. And it certainly is a deterrent to the neighboring properties.
Yeah, that's good. Okay.
I second.
Mr. Malta?
Aye.
Mr. Arena?
Aye.
Mr. Rampy?
Aye.
Mr. Mixel?
Aye.
Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Kashani?
Okay. All right. We'll do about a final approval?
Make a motion for final approval. Northridge Church in addition, 780 Silver Road,
Subject project review committee.
Speak up.
Comments. Subject preliminary approval conditions. Subject to all applicable government fees. Subject to Department of Public Works approvals. Significant construction shall occur within 1 year, as deemed by the planning board to expire on 3/19/2020. Conditions of preliminary and final approval are depicted on the cover page of the final design plans. We need a certification from an engineer.
Yeah, this is for compliance with site plan, yes.
The engineer for the proposed project should provide a letter of certification. All proposed work was completed as per planning board resolution. On final approval, before certificate of occupancy will be issued. Credit to the town. The project should include the fee for the engineer's final certification and inspection. There's no additional stormwater facilities being constructed there, so there's anything. And subject to resolution of final approved minutes. Approvals are subject to drawing number, again,
Same one.
same as-
Here, I'll give it to you. It's 15011.00.
dated 2/21/19.
That's your motion, you second.
Second.
Mr. Malta?
Aye.
Mr. Arena?
Aye.
Mr. Rampy?
Aye.
Mr. Mixel?
Aye.
Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Kashani?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
You're all set. Good
Thank
luck.
you very much.
One more resolution. This has to go back to the town board for the industrial use permit. So we need a letter of recommendation.
All right, I'll make a motion for a letter of recommendation to the town board for the use for the Webster Church in the industrial district.
Second.
Mr. Kashani? Mr. Mixel?
Aye.
Mr. Rampy?
Aye.
Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Malta?
Aye.
Mr. Arena?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, good luck. Good luck.
TC Hooligans Building Addition located 809 Ridge Road. Applicant TC Hooligans Eastside Grill, MTAS Inc. are requesting a preliminary final site subdivision plan approval, public hearing to construct 1,750 square foot building addition to the existing building for the expansion of the bar and dining areas. The proposal will involve the subdivision of 809 and 811 Ridge Road, respectively on a 4.8 acre parcel located in MC District, medium commercial, under the Code of Town of Webster.
Dan, I'm sorry, before you start, should we have these reversed? If we approve hooligans, we haven't approved, we have to approve the modification to the site drawing first, right?
Well, that's what's occurring. That's what they're asking for. TC Hooligans is requesting their site drawings. Their
Yeah.
site plan, okay?
For the addition.
I know where you're going, but as far as the subdivision drawings.
Yeah,
I battled that 10 times in my head, and I figured, let's look at the structure, and then look at what subdivision is going to need to accommodate that structure. Okay, that was my logic.
all right, that's fine, sorry.
I was kind of wondering about that too,
I'm
because
sorry?
I was wondering about that too, because this applicant actually has in it
Yeah,
subdivision of a lot, and then the other one was also.
Yes, that's what-
Subdivision of the same thing. So,
okay, I'm sorry, go ahead then, we'll do this one.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Sarah Gilbert with Pinewoods Engineering, and I'm joined tonight by Carmen Bercia of TSE Engineering and KF Architects. We're here on behalf of the owners, MTAS Incorporated, and they are the owner-operators of the TC Hooligans Eastside Grill on Ridge Road. That restaurant is located in the Webster Woods Plaza, which is owned by Webster Woods LLC. TC Hooligans is a restaurant and bar open for lunch, dinner, drinks, merriment. It's open weekdays from 11 a.m. to midnight and weekends from 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. They're most known for their wood-fire pizzas, steaks, ribs, and a contemporary and classic sports bar atmosphere. The existing restaurant has one entrance through the front facade of the building that faces Ridge Road. And it has an existing outdoor dining space that's approximately 1,750 square feet. The outdoor dining space is a stamped concrete patio with brick columns and a black wrought iron fence connecting the brick columns. It has an overhead canopy. It's used seasonally. There's light music plays on the patio, and there's some TVs that are brought out there in the summer. The building across from the patio is used for medical offices and has offset peak times as this business. As we mentioned before we started, the Webster Woods Plaza is located on several separate parcels that are all owned by Webster Woods LLC. There is an existing property line that runs underneath this patio and separates it into two parcels. The project would like to utilize this patio space more consistently throughout the year, so they would like to enclose in the space in what would become a building addition for use of private parties. The building addition would be the same footprint as the patio, 1,750 square feet. The architecture of the addition is designed to be fitting and matching with the existing plaza. The existing brick columns will be maintained and incorporated into the architecture of the addition. The addition will have a new vestibule entrance, which would be a private entrance when that addition is used for private parties. The architecture is brick veneer with some faux windows and real windows and a coping. It has a height of approximately 10 feet, 13 feet to the top of the coping, which is slightly lower than the existing building, which has a height of 16.5 feet. The interior space will feature large screen TVs and a separate bar. The use of this space will essentially be the same as it is now. It is a gathering space for patrons. The idea is to hopefully be able to use it more consistently throughout the year, whereas right now they can only use it for a couple months during the summer. The design was done to minimize impacts to the site to the greatest extent possible, so there's no change really to the site lighting other than new lights at the new entrances. We don't anticipate this increasing parking demand or changing pedestrian flow, drainage, anything on the property. The addition will allow business to continue to grow though and meet the needs of the community. In order to comply with the town zoning ordinance, as we mentioned, the owner has agreed to re-subdivide the property and move the property line that currently runs underneath the patio 15 feet closer to the medical building so that this addition will comply with the town building setbacks. That re-subdivision is handled in a separate application, which you will hear next. We understand, due to the subdivision being an integral part of this application, and this application assuming that that re-subdivision goes through as designed, tonight you may not be able to do a final vote, so we're hoping to accomplish a public hearing and a preliminary approval if possible tonight. Is there any questions?
Well, you're building on the same footprint as the patio, correct?
Yes.
When the patio was put in, was it built for standards to be built upon? You know what I'm saying? In other words, foundation-wise? Or is that?
It was.
Just take the microphone.
Can you take the mic? Oh, sorry, got it. I don't know, I'm Carmen Torque again. The slab is just a floating slab, so that has nothing to do with the building. It's self-supporting. I'm not sure if we're going to take it out or not. We have to still study that, see what the condition is after this winter and stuff like that. So we'll evaluate that. But anyways, the piers, which are these, have footings already. They're 4 feet below grade. So we're going to come in and put in separate columns. And once we evaluate it, if we have to underpin the footings and make them bigger, depending on what we do our column layout, we'll do that. So, yeah, we can build up. That's your question. We're gonna have separate columns.
Yeah, those are your brick columns going up.
What's that?
Those are the brick columns you're showing?
Yeah,
Going
these
up.
are the brick columns that go up, but the structure,
Then you're gonna infill.
yeah, there'll be infill in between here and here. So what I'm saying is, when we do our structural design, we're probably gonna have a column just inside of these, and go down with a pier next to it, and if we have to underpin the footings to get these bigger, we will do that. We do it all the time, so, we'll have to decide that, whether when we do our investigation, if these footings are big enough, we might build right on top of them, or extend these and go all the way up to support our structure. If not, then we'll have to underpin to get them bigger.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Yeah, no, we
I was
still,
thinking if you just went around the outside of it for foundation and left the patio alone,
oh,
and
yeah.
just made it 8 inches or 12 inches bigger, and you leave that, just, you have the whole foundation all the way
Yeah.
up, whatever.
We kind of wanted to stick with the design here, the way it is, so, okay.
Okay, and then you're moving the lot line, so the lot line currently runs like almost right in the middle of the
That's correct.
patio, correct?
Yes.
So you're gonna move it, what's the width of that patio? One second. It's about 30 feet, right?
Yes,
Yeah, the patio's
so
about 30 feet.
the lot line will come over, so it will have 15 feet setback off of the building.
Okay, so you'd have 15 feet, okay, so you're moving it over, basically you're moving it over 30 feet, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right, that really doesn't infringe on lot number 1, the medical building.
I'm gonna let the other applicant speak address the questions regarding the subdivision impacts. I think there is some issues there, complications that they could discuss
Okay,
better.
all right, so let's hold off on this then until we know what the other part is all about. That brings me where we can do it. Can't include
If
the
I
movement.
may, the setback for the structure is 20-foot side setback.
So they went down, so,
It's 20-foot side setback, not the 15 feet that Mr. Gilbert indicated.
20 foot's required, 15 is proposed.
Yes.
Okay, so they'd be 15 feet and 20 is required, okay, so they're already 15 feet, they didn't get a variance for that?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
There are some existing variances, we understand, that were granted to the property. The intent was not to get a variance for this, but to set the property line where variance would not be required. I think that's something that we would have to look into, but the intent was to set the property line where variance would not be needed, and we thought that there was already a side variance granted for this property, allowing 15 feet.
I'll check into that, but if one was granted, it was granted to a patio. Okay?
Okay.
I would have to check it and verify that. Looking at what the code is, side setback for a structure is 20 feet within the city district. I'll verify the variance.
Well,
Do you have a date on that, sir?
I do, it's from the drawings.
actually, if we look at the drawing, where the existing property line goes through, it's 15 feet from the building, so there must have been a 15-foot, I'm guessing there was a 15-foot approval back then.
Yes, we have July 25th, 2006
That's not what
is the date that it was
it-
granted for lot 3,
July 26, 2006.
7/25/06.
Thank you.
Okay, so what are we doing? We can't really do a whole lot more with this until we know what the other part of this involvement is.
Chris Nadler, counsel of one for parent company. If you
Yes.
table your vote and then heard the second application.
That's what I'm thinking of doing, that's what I was just gonna say, is hold this now, is listen to that and go back to this. Yeah. Okay, that work for you guys?
Yes.
All right, okay, we'll do that. All right, this is still an application through this here, but why don't you go ahead and read the next one again? You guys can,
Webster Woods re-subdivision lots 1, 3, and 4 located 801, 803 to 809 and 811, which road applicant Webster Woods Plaza LLC is requesting a preliminary final subdivision plan approval, public hearing to re-subdivide lots 1, 2, and 3. Proposal intent to accommodate structural additions within the plaza involving the subdivision of 801, 803 to 809 and 811, respectively on an 8.28 acre parcel located in MC District under the Porter Town of Webster.
well, yeah, we're not really tabling it, we're just putting this one in and then going back to that one. I don't think so. Do we legally? No.
You're gonna call it again, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Mike Kobijewski with BME Associates, and as we've been discussing, we're here to seek approval for the re-subdivision within the Webster Woods Plaza. The proposed subdivision will allow for the expansion of the TC Hooligans building, but then also address some outstanding comments that the town has made us aware of that the applicant received previously. The first adjustment is for the lot line for the building expansion, which would be between lots 1 and 3. Here, and as previously mentioned, there is a variance, side setback variance that was previously granted at 15 feet, which is why we set the property line at 15 feet. The second adjustment would be between lots 3 and 4 on the west side of the property. The adjustment there is to make sure that we have the correct building coverage on lot 4. With the addition of the expansion at TC Hooligans, it puts it slightly over the maximum amount of building coverage. So we're looking to adjust the lot line on the west side, which would maintain less than the 20% maximum level of building coverage. There is an additional.
So I don't get too far away from you here.
Sure.
Okay, so I got lot 4. Okay, so you're talking right off the corner of the plaza itself.
Lot, yes, this is lot,
Okay.
so.
Okay, so where's the, I'm seeing 2 lines, what am I looking at?
Between lot,
Okay, one's a sanitary sewer easement.
between lot 3 and 4.
Can you hold the mic, please?
Between lot 3 and 4, we would look to adjust the lot line. This right here is the existing lot line. We would look to adjust it and re-subdivide it so that way
Okay, now I know what you're talking about.
lot 4 maintains less than 20% building coverage with the extension.
Okay, you're talking about the east-west line, pretty much.
Yep.
Okay. So you're moving that a little bit more to the north.
Correct.
There, right?
Correct.
This is a kind of a squirrely deal here. Okay, I see where you're moving that up. Now, how far are you moving that up?
So the existing lot line would go away and there'd be a new lot line, basically an east-west lot line that would be created.
So you're adding on how much more to lot number 3? How many feet?
Lot 4 would become, would decrease from about 2.3 acres to 1.2 acres, and that area would go to lot 3.
Okay, so what are we saying? How many feet is that? I don't see any footage on here. It's hard for me to. I see the line. I know where you're talking.
So the bottom dimension is about 200 feet, where that lot line would go away. And basically, the southwestern corner of the property would end up going to lot 3 and be removed from lot 4.
All right. I see where he's talking. I don't see how many feet or anything. That's what I'm saying. So it's, okay, so that's taking care of that side. So now I'll go back over to the other end.
Sure.
And now I can see the line of highlighted here, that's going over, it jogs, goes over and then meets the one up next to lot 2 over there.
Correct.
Okay, so now you're shifting that over, looks like you're gonna be 15 feet away from the addition, the proposed addition is 15 feet away from that new location of the line, right?
Correct.
Okay, so now that leaves you 43.8 something, I think it is, 43 feet for the medical building?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, and what is that required to have? Your setback,
75 feet.
75?
That's right.
Oh. So what does that have to, that has to do variance then?
Yes.
For lot number 1? Okay. Okay.
I think we'd like to confirm with the town the actual variances that were previously approved for the plaza itself.
That was 75, it never was 75.
It never was,
They received the variance.
yeah, it never was previously
Yes, and
75 either.
Initially, the plaza was established,
Okay.
came in as one lot, then at the final stage, the applicant requested to re-subdivide that parcel, which the board obliged in re-subdividing that parcel. A number of variances were issued to that subdivision.
So the variance then for that had to give you 58 feet?
No, one time it was probably 73 feet.
Well, I don't see how it was.
I know it was never 75 feet
No.
to the
It
existing
looks like
lot line.
50, well, wait a minute.
You're correct, yes, but there was a variance which was granted to that lot line.
To that existing lot line?
That's right.
Moving it over 15 feet, the line, and that leaves you, on the medical building, number 1, 43.8. So that's 43 and 15 is 58 feet, right? So that means you'd be 58 feet is what it had been, so it was never 7
Correct.
feet.
If the lot line went through the middle of that addition,
Yeah,
that was 15 feet along. And then you're coming off another 15 feet onto that. So actually that lot line has moved 30 feet,
yeah, right, no, I know that.
which would have made it 73.8 feet.
Okay. Yeah, you're right, Dave.
Yeah, it didn't move 15 feet, it moved 30 feet.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So, this would allow for the addition to hooligans, but it impacts lot number 1 setback big time. So you'd have to get a variance for that one then, whoever. Mark 4, whatever. I guess that's the way it would have to work out.
Well, so I think,
Go up to the microphone.
Yeah. so I think when this was approved, and I believe that was around 2006, it was approved as an overall development. Here's a plaza with a big building, some outbuildings, and what turns out to be the vacant parcel 4. And the planning board and the zoning board concurred at that time that the buildings were appropriately distanced from each other. And when you have setback lines, it's to keep separate buildings separate. These are part and parcel of the same project and same development. And I think the planning board in 2006 agreed that these were the appropriate locations of the buildings. We're not changing the distance from any buildings with the exception of the addition of 15 feet for TC hooligans. You're changing lot lines, but it's all the same owner and it's all the same plan development that the planning board concurred with and the zoning board concurred with in 2006. So the location of the lot line, the town does have setbacks, but the zoning board approved the distances from the buildings in 2006 as did the planning board. I think that's the important part to keep in mind here, not the setbacks from the lot lines, which I think are in some cases in the middle of the parking lot, in the middle of the roadway. So you really should try to focus on what the planning board approved in 2006 is the distance between the buildings.
Yeah, but that kind
actual
of makes
distance.
sense, but now you've added 30 feet on those. So the distance between the buildings is not the same anymore, it won't be with that addition.
It's right at 15, right?
30 feet.
Yeah, it's moving.
So you're infringing 30 feet on what was there, bottom line. You know what I mean? See, that's where the issue would come. Would you be smarter? I don't know, maybe you'd be smarter just to leave lot 4 alone, and then lot 1 alone, and just get a variance for lot,
No, you'd have to move the lot line period anyway, so it's outside of the,
You cannot have a property line going through a
yeah, the
structure.
limits of the building
yeah,
expansion.
that's right too, so it would still be right in the middle, yeah.
Well, the easiest solution is to combine lot number 1 and the large lot, is that 3?
The large lot's 3.
Yeah. Eliminate that property line and you
Yeah.
solve the issue.
Yeah. Lot 1 and lot 3. Yeah. That's probably, you're right, that's most logical, maybe that's something you guys want to consider.
That's something we'd have to have the applicant consider,
Yeah,
so coming up at the moment.
Good evening, Brian Powers, Senior Project Manager with Mark IV and also a member with Webster Woods LLC. So all the owners are Webster Wood LLC, but each lot is numbered 1 through 4. So each property is LLC 1, LLC 2, LLC 3, 4. And if we eliminate a lot, combine 2 lots, that is going to create an issue with the banks that finance these buildings. Because we have mortgages on every single property and every building, and combining lots, combining buildings is problematic with the bank.
yeah, okay.
So I think the path of, I'm not sure it's going to be least resistance, but we have asked the town, as we were preparing this, for copies of the variances. We would again ask if we can get copies of the variances for this entire piece of property, so we understand what has been granted. And from there, we can determine if we need to create a variance application for lot 1 because of this rear setback. It's, all along, it has been less than 70 feet. The property line on between lot 1 and 4 is not moving 30 feet because the property line as it sits right now runs through the middle of the patio.
Yeah,
So we're moving that lot line 15 feet off the edge of the patio plus whatever the distance it was within the patio. It's not 30
yeah,
feet.
15, so it's 30 feet.
No, we're moving it probably closer to 20, between 20 and 25 feet, I think. Again, the lot line runs through the middle of the patio.
And the patio's 30 feet,
The patio's 30 feet wide.
so in the middle of it, that's 15.
I say middle, but I think it's cheated more to the outside. Because the original,
Just want to know what you give us.
it's something less than 30, I know that.
When was the patio put on?
Probably 6, 8 years ago. It's not a structure.
No, I never know. When the patio was put on, was there any kind of, did it come in front of camera?
Oh, yeah.
It received a building permit, I know that.
So I put in, received the building permit. This patio, it's not just an open patio. You mentioned it.
Yeah, canopy.
It's got a canopy on it, it's got the walls on it, it's pretty isolated when you're sitting in there from what's on the outside area. And in some respects, even though this is a building addition, what's effectively there now is a building.
Yeah.
The type of cover, the type of walls, the type of screening that's surrounding and giving it. You're putting walls in the space to fill it in. Moving over this property line is more of, okay, don't want the property line through the middle of the patio, through the middle of the building, which is not allowed. But it doesn't really change anything between that building and that structure that's there.
No.
And the existing building that's on lot number 1. it's more formalizing that is to a regular structure as opposed to, the temporary patio, so. And he said it has been there for 8 years. So moving this line, I mean, there are variances that were given. The applicant does have in 2016. Those variances tended to be written, so they were all written around lot number 3. I guess the clarification would have to be is if we got to put a variance on lot number 1.
Yeah.
But overall, though, I don't see that type of variance would be an issue. Just because of the way the thing has been set up and operated for 8 years.
No, I don't think it's the issue. The issue is having to go there and
Formally,
hopefully they get it. Yeah, I mean, it's something the zoning board got. So at this point, with all of that said, we can't act on either one of these really at this point. I can't see.
What we, if I may interrupt, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry?
If I may interrupt.
Sure.
What we were attempting to do is satisfy the board and the town that with setting this new property line between lot 1 and 4 at 15 feet off of the building addition, that wouldn't create an issue for TC Hooligans so that they could proceed with their application. They have a more timely need than we do to file the subdivision map. But at the same time, we offer to proceed with the subdivision to get them situated, but also cure some other issues that the deputy or the commissioner of public works had raised on this property. So we're trying to settle a bunch of things with this subdivision.
All right.
Without knowing what the variances are on some of these lot lines, which would help us understand where we stand.
Would you be comfortable with that? In other words, if we took and we approved the addition out here, the 30-foot addition, and the modification to this here, that would take care of that application.
Right.
But then this one doesn't meet code because it had setback then, so they're gonna have to get the variance. So we could approve this, and we stepping on our own feet then by doing that, and then
Nobody knows what the variance is.
the variance would be up to.
So if I could make a suggestion, because I'm pretty sure, and I think Don is pretty sure, and I know Brian has had conversations with Chuck Benway about it. I'm pretty sure that the variances already exist here. So if you approve the subdivision subject to obtaining any variances required, I think the answer is going to be there aren't variances required. But if you approve it subject to obtaining any variances, and then the town can tell us what variances are required. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we could give a preliminary, that would get you going. I don't know about a final, I mean, give that and then see what you gotta do as far as variances and stuff, and then come back for your final.
That'd be great, thank you.
All right.
And that'll
You
get
can do that.
TC Hooligans to
You
where
can
they
give them
can do it.
preliminary, if you're so inclined.
Just for that,
But you
and
can't,
then stipulate that it's.
they gotta go get whatever variances
Correct.
are needed
Yeah.
at that point. Maybe there's none, but
Well, we
we don't know.
Yeah,
But you can give them preliminary,
okay.
and then they check it, confirm it, and then come back with the variances in hand, or if there's none required, come back and final. Does that make sense?
That's fine with us.
So you get the final for that, and then get the other one, because you obviously keep moving forward. Okay. That one. All right. So, that's that. So now we go back to the first application, I guess.
Suppose we want to,
I'm sorry?
close this one up first and then go to.
Yeah, actually, let's get a motion to table the,
So if we're gonna do preliminary, then we want to do preliminary. So then go back to the first.
no, well, no, what I'm thinking, giving preliminary to is the addition, the one that would be coming up again now. But the one we're putting off is the subdivision of those. Oh, no, it's all ties together. Jeez, man, I used to this tied together.
Give them both preliminary with the condition.
Yeah, because.
And I think you could have TC Hooligans final.
That was my understanding, kind of discussion we just had.
Yeah, I was thinking it was
Preliminary
one,
subject
but.
to receive.
All right, okay.
Yeah, but make separate applications for each
Yes.
project. You know
Yes.
what I mean, so the record's clear.
Yeah. Yeah. they
But
would have to be
separate motions.
Yeah, they'd have to be separate, right. They're two separate applications, basically. All right, should we stick with that one then?
I'm just thinking, since this is the one that's active right now, let's,
All right, why don't we do that, then why don't we hold off a second?
we'll do it.
Why don't you guys go ahead, we'll finish this one up then like that. This is a normal subdivision of houses in here we're doing. Yeah, let's finish this one, yeah, go ahead. So we moved the lot line over to be 15 feet off of the new addition, which is 30 feet. This is the way I'm seeing it on here, so. So how would we say this? I mean, you're saying that you
Well,
don't.
first you gotta do seeker on it, then we can do it.
Yeah, well, I'm still trying to figure this thing out, because if it's 15, we were saying it's in the middle of that patio, but he's saying that it's not, it's a little bit more horizontal than 10, but I think what we just have to say is, it has to be 15 feet from the proposed new property line.
No, the proposed building. The edge of the proposed building. The new property line would be 15 feet from the proposed building.
Yeah, from the proposed building, okay, all right, okay, that's right, yeah. Okay, that was all right. Okay, we're good with that. Then go ahead, Joanne.
Hang on, Tony, this is a public hearing, we gotta do a public hearing.
Actually, it is, you're right. Then again, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone wishing to speak for or against, no one, we'll close the public hearing. Yeah, thanks. All right, go ahead.
So you got a resolution. Town of Webster Planning Board requests the applicant Webster Woods Plaza LLC to re-subdivide lots 1, 2, and 3 of Webster Woods Plaza. The action involves subdivision of 801, 803 to 809, and 811 Ridge Road, having SBO numbers 079.17 -1-85, 079.18-1-69.111, and 079.18-1-69.112 respectively, on an 8.23 acre extent. On a parcel located in a medium commercial district. The planning board classifies the proposed action as a type 2 action under the state environmental quality review regulations in accordance with section 617.516, because the requested subdivision involves lot line adjustments. Therefore, the proposed action is not subject to further review.
I'll second.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Arena?
Aye.
Mr. Rampy?
Aye.
Mr. Mixel?
Aye.
Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Malta?
Aye.
Mr. Pashani?
Okay, so, back to the drawings. We are looking at the setbacks and so on and so forth. Just quickly, I think if you just look at the proposed addition, the elevations, I think, and the architects.
I'm right here.
Oh, there you go. They explained, what they were doing and so on, but the brick and everything, it's all the same bricks, everything is matching, you're using all the same materials and so on in there, so. All right, so we'll have to make a motion to allow. Okay, so the new lot line to be 15 feet from the proposed addition. Is that clarified? We did something like that in there? So whatever the width of it is, it still has to be 15 feet the whole length of it. I mean, it's zigging and zagging,
Minimum 15 feet from the edge of the
Yeah.
for side setback.
All right, then, let's do one step. All right, I'll make a motion that the planning board approves the modification to the lot line between lots number 1 and lots number 3 of the Hooligan, well, what is this actually? Webster Woods subdivision. And,
That's
I'm
all.
sorry?
It's also the adjustment of the lot line for the lots 3 and 4.
Yeah. So for the new lot line, between lot 1 and lot number 3, the proposed new lot line to be 15 feet from the proposed addition. And at lot number 4, 3 and 4, the lot line is moved to the north. And again, there's no dimension, so I don't know what it is. To allow for the required
Building.
square footage for this opening in for lot number 4.
It'd be to maintain less than 20% building coverage for the code.
All right, to maintain 20% coverage for lot number 3. Okay, so okay, that's it. That's simple and it's pretty quick. That's based on your drawing 2552A, 2552A, and it's on drawing number 1. Okay, all right, that would be a motion, I guess, at this point.
Second.
Mr. Kashani?
Aye.
Mr. Mixel?
Aye.
Mr. Rampy?
Aye.
Mr. Koso?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Malta?
Aye.
Mr. Arena?
Aye.
Okay, so that takes care of moving the lines at this point, sure there. All right, now we've got to go back to the actual building. Okay, so.
You're gonna table this to us?
Yeah, we can't give it a final on this, so. Do we need to table it for final, or just not granting the final? We don't have to table it, right? No, I don't think so. Okay. Here, want some more?
Could you grant preliminary and final with conditioning the final, us getting the
We
final
can't,
subdivision?
because 192-19C says, final approval cannot be granted for any project until all private easements and agreements have been obtained, all necessary variances from the town zoning board of appeals have been granted, and/or all use permits from the town board have been granted, and a review or referral has been received concerning the project from the Monroe County Department of Planning and Zoning.
Can we do the public hearing tonight and then close it and then?
Yes.
Preliminary?
Yeah, you can get preliminary with the board, so when you want to do that, you do the public hearing. We just need verification that either there are variances that need to be pursued, and you're gonna, you've pursued them and gotten variances granted, or there are no variances. Because I don't think anybody knows at this moment. We do have the representation from Mr. Nadler, and I believe,
Outstanding.
I believe him when he says it, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much that would hold up in court if I just said it. You know, I believe Mr. Nadler.
Is that it?
Yeah, so we do have to do some due diligence, but we can do the, if the board wants to grant preliminary,
Yeah.
and we can do the public hearing.
Okay, so we're back to the addition at Hooligans, and they pretty much ran through it all. The building itself is matching, as I said before, the direction and everything is all the same as what's currently there. It is a nice looking building, that thing was always well kept and attractive looking building, and using the same materials on it. So as far as structural design and layout, I'm okay with that, personally. We could, yeah, you want to move forward with the preliminary on that?
Yeah.
You all right? Yeah, go ahead. Might as well, sure.
What about the public hearing?
Yeah.
Yes, public hearings. Does anybody here wish to speak for it? Guys, you guys gotta say something here.
I love it. This time the audience.
Okay, what else? We'll close the public hearing, bring it back.
Did you see Corendus?
He's doing it now.
Before I do secret, just to clarify, since we have done this subdivisions as part of the previous action. And even though the announcement for this particular parcel includes some subdivision stuff, it's really not part of the.
Yeah.
Town of Webster Planning Board considered request by applicant TC Hooligans Eastside Grill and NTS Incorporated to construct a 1,750 square foot building to a building addition to the existing building for expansion of bar and dining areas on a 4.8 acre parcel located in the medium commercial district at 809 Ridge Road, Webster. Planning Board classifies the proposed action as a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Regulations in accordance with section 617.C9 because the action includes a 1,750 square foot addition, which is less than the listed 4,000 square foot addition criteria. Therefore, the proposed action is not subject to further review.
Second.
And Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Arena?
Aye.
Mr. Ramby?
Aye.
Mr. Mixel?
Aye.
Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Malta?
Aye.
Mr. Pashon?
All right, so to move forward, preliminary approval for the proposed addition to Hooligans. I'll make a motion that we grant the preliminary approval to TC Hooligans Eastside Grill addition. Make that subject to the PRC comments. A couple of them you're already aware of, obviously, with the getting the variances. And the others, kitchen area, not put the kitchen area in.
None.
Okay, so there's no increase. Yeah. Addition will cause a greater blind spot when entering the parking lot. Well, that's quite an issue, isn't it? And let's see, so. We've got to have what, make it subject to a letter of credit posted with the town. Well, this is going to be subject to determination of ZBA for, this won't need a variance though, no. We don't even need that on this one. So number 5, don't need that. To understand the land conveyed to the town, nothing. Let's see, address any recent subdivision approvals, no. Number 8, you can put down, that's all the improvements be constructed according to specifications of the town of Webster. And number 9, roadway construction in conformance with the town. All site work would be in compliance. Number 12, comply with the requirements of state, county, and town. Let's see. Lighting on the building, you're gonna have probably the same kind of lights on, oh, I'm sorry. You're gonna have the same kind of lights on that as what's currently on the.
Yeah,
no,
there's lights on each of the
I mean,
doors.
they've been doing that consistently, I'm gonna assume that that's for sure. Okay, the lights to be, to conform to the lights that are currently being used, okay? All right. Yeah, so, let's see. Landscape design that, why is this single? And that's it, anybody else need to know? You missed?
I'll second that.
Okay, that's a motion.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Pashani?
Aye.
Mr. Mixel?
Aye.
Mr. Ramby? Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Malta?
Aye.
Mr. Arena?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you very much.
So, find out if we get them in a second. All right. Okay, so now we gotta go back to another one.
Webster Woods Car Wash located 801 Ridge Road. Applicant Webster Woods Plaza LLC is requesting sketch plan review to construct a car wash facility having 3 self-wash bays, a laser wash bay, a drive-through tunnel, and 7 vacuum stations on a proposed lot of 1.239 acre parcel. It's located in MC District, medium commercial, under Dakota Town, Webster.
I'll quickly reintroduce myself for this application. Michael Jesse from DME, Chris Nadler, the client's attorney, and Brian Powers from Webster Woods LLC. Also with us is Peter Barr from DME. The proposal for this lot, since we've been talking about Webster Woods Plaza lot this evening, is for a proposed car wash on lot 4. As we previously mentioned, lot 4, upper northwest corner of the plaza. It's currently a stone, partially paved area. With the re-subdivision that we previously talked about, the new lot 4 area would become 1.2 acres approximately. And this parcel along with the entire plaza is part of the MC zoning district. We submitted the concept plan tonight because a previous application has been made to the zoning board for use variance, since the proposed car wash use is not allowed within the MC zoning district. So the application has been made at the recommendation of the zoning board. We've now submitted the concept plan for comments and input from the board tonight. The car wash itself is proposed to include 3 self-wash bays, like a self-wash laser wash, and 1 drive-through car wash tunnel. Access to the site will be from within the plaza. No new entrances are proposed onto the Ridge Road itself. The existing access and parking area will be utilized for the driveways into the car wash area. There's 2 lanes into the site, into the tunnel car wash area, what we're calling it, in this area. That includes 1 bypass lane around the south side of the building. There's a 3rd lane where cars can enter into the self-wash bays and the laser wash bay. On the east side of the building, there would be vacuum stations with a canopy proposed. There is an existing stormwater management facility located on the northern, I'm going to call it the northern part of the property, that's utilized by the plaza. This will also be utilized for this building and improvements, and any new stormwater management facilities will have to comply with the DEC regulations. Utilities will be extended from existing utilities that are within the plaza that surround the site. There's existing sanitary sewer and existing water mains that are on the north and east side of that lot 4 area. With that, I'm going to open up to any questions from the board.
Well, right through the middle of that, again, going back looking at your other drawing, lot number 4, it shows the sanitary sewer easement to be abandoned, okay?
Correct.
All right. Okay, now, well, the only thing I can think of is this a good location for another car wash? We just had one built now, and that's a Zoom, but that's got 3 ingresses and egresses to it. The biggest issue I have with this, and it's messing with the building and everything, is that, it's where that driveway is right there, with the traffic that goes in and out there, and the traffic along Ridge Road. This is almost opposite where the turning lane is, and it's just down a little bit further east. You go up on 5 Mile Line Road, go north, where it widens out and stuff there. And how the heck do you come out of this thing and make a left-hand turn without a signal like that? And these things, I mean, what I'm seeing at that other class is nut house up there.
It would
Traffic.
Sure, it would
Well, I'm
maintain,
catching
yeah.
hell from everybody about traffic, and that's got 3 entrances and exits.
The traffic from this would utilize the plaza entrances as existing.
This
So-
one technically has 3 plaza entrances too. Correct. It goes into the.
Yeah, but you got, you know, the hooligans and everything there, you're not, no way you're gonna drive through the parking lot to exit over there. Your entrance is the main entrance, that's where everybody travels. I don't hardly ever see anybody using the other ones. They're all in the main entrance. I don't know.
Unless you're making a left and then you know there's no way you can get out of it.
So you go to-
I don't know. I mean, it's not an allowed use in this area. I mean, you have to get a variance for it too. Huh?
We're gonna provide a traffic impact. I know Raj asked earlier when we were at the zoning board. We'll provide an internal trip count type study for the planning board's use and the zoning board's use.
Kind of, when I was looking at it, the primary concern I had with it is it winds up becoming a cut through for the corner. People come and use a car wash, realize they can't make a left-hand turn out on Ridge Road. We do cut through the other portions of the plaza. And I'm wondering, as part of this project, what kind of safety features would you put in place to help protect pedestrians that are trying to park and then go into the various restaurants and other businesses in the rest of the plaza? Because the traffic lane runs between the parking and the business fronts.
So the proposed parking spots on the car wash site plan are basically just for those parking stations.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the traffic flow through the plaza, which is now going to go out towards 5 Mile Line. And the way the site is striped and the way the traffic lanes are already set up in the plaza, the way you drive out is you run right in front of the primary business entrances. What kind of protections are going to be put in place for those people who park there that want to go to those restaurants?
For
Protect
using the parking lot. That's something we'd have to look at as we develop the final site plans, which is good input from the board as we move forward.
The way the description was written too, I understood the concept of the south wash bays. That's very similar to what's over on Grill Road here. You mentioned a laser wash type. Is that one that's going to be installed in one of those south wash bays? And then you also mentioned a tunnel type, which I didn't actually see in the application.
I think Brian can speak to the actual operation of the car wash a little better than I can.
Thank you again, Brian Powers with Webster Woods LLC. The laser wash is typically a device you drive into, and then it's all mechanicalized, so the washing moves around you, and not like the tunnel where you drive through the washing. And the benefit of the laser is there are people that maybe don't want to wash their own car, but they don't like the idea of the brushes and other items that are touching their car when they're in the tunnel. They want an absolute touch-free type of wash, and that's what the laser wash is.
Question, you know, again, when we approved Walgreens and we approved CVS and all the rest of everybody's question was, why are you allowing so many drugstores in town? Because we don't have a choice. It's their money, it's an allowed use in a district, so we can't tell them they can't build it. And as you can see, the one Rite Aid there now is shut down. You know, it eventually just irons out and finds its own comfort zone, I guess. In this case, how many car washes are we doing? We've got one on 5 Mile Line Road, there's one in the village, I mean, not 5 Mile, and Holt Road. And at the mobile station there, there's, it's the one just opened there, the Royal Car Wash just opened. You got Delta Sonic down the road. You got the other one on Empire Boulevard across from where Baytown is there. There's one over there. So not being an allowed use, how many car washes do we need in town before we catch help from everybody in town? That's the way I'm seeing this. It's like, you know, we just can't keep throwing these things up. Go ahead.
So one of the reasons we're applying for a use variance is we can't, how many vacant parcels do you want? We can't get anybody to rent or build on this for something else. I mean, I think everybody would like to see a nice boutique there, or, you know, a restaurant, but
Yeah,
we aggressively marketed it for that. And, you know, Mark For's in the business of figuring out what's going to work and market research type stuff, and they really come to the conclusion that this will succeed there. I think just like the Daniellis figured out that it would succeed where they just put the Royal Car Wash. I think there's a big market for it, and I bet you're going to see more applications for this type of use.
Yeah, see,
No more from us in Webster probably.
See, if it was an allowed use, I'd say, well, you know, I don't like it being there, but because, number one, the traffic and excessive number of them, but it is zoned for commercial, it's not zoned for car washing, and so are we encouraging this type of?
No, you wouldn't be encouraging this type of use at all. And
Could you tap into the microphone, please?
sure, sorry about that. You wouldn't be encouraging this type of use. We have applied for a use variance. My reading, and Raj was there, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the zoning board was favorable towards the use variance application, just like they were towards the use variance application of Royal Car Wash that they approved about a year ago. But said we need preliminary site plan approval before they'll act on it. So I think the zoning board is the entity that would be allowing the use.
Right, hey.
And they have done that and set a precedent for doing that.
Well, again, yeah, I hear you, but again, I go back to, you know, when it came to the planning board for its approvals and stuff, it was based on, you know, we recommended that, yeah, it's a good spot for it because of the location. It was off of the road, it was not in a heavy impact traffic area, it did have 3 readily usable ingress and egresses without impacting any of the neighbors or anything else. That was why we went along with it in that particular case. Now we're talking one here, and I don't know.
I'm pretty
I
sure.
hate being negative. I mean, these guys have been good. I mean, this is, you know, what you want to do. I'm with you 100%. But I just see this thing as being a nightmare for traffic in there. I mean, that's crazy up there right now. You've got Royal Car Wash.
I think we are as far back or even further than the Royal Car Wash from the road.
Well, I don't, that's not the distance from the road. It's the traffic ingress and egress out of it is where the traffic. And then traffic around it. Because weekends, that thing Friday, Saturday night, they fill up with cars in that parking lot.
And that's why I don't think there's anywhere near enough stacking room there. They show no stacking room at all for self-wash. People do go in and wait until somebody else gets a wash. There's no real stacking room there. And there's 2 lanes coming in. Those aren't very long lanes. So I see right out into the driveway.
So I'll try to help clarify on the stacking. On the west side of the building, there are the 2, what would be the pay kiosks for the drive-through tunnel. So that provides the entire 2 lanes as a stacking area for the drive-through tunnel area. We do provide the 3rd entrance in the 3rd lane as a stacking area, plus the interior area for the self-wash bays.
But those lanes are not very long. How many cars can stack from the kiosk to the entrance coming in? How many cars can be stacked there? And in the drawing, you don't show very many that I can see. You know, maybe you're looking at maybe 10, 12 cars to stack. God, I mean, I go to Delta Sonic a lot. It's unbelievable the stacking that they need there. And still it goes out into the gas station area. So I don't think there's enough adequate stacking for this purpose.
And again, that's something we can look at, the location of the pay kiosk, to try to maximize any stacking abilities as we move forward and develop this site. Yeah, we can look at moving the kiosks to the south, try to maximize that stacking in those two lanes.
I think as part of this is going to have an impact on traffic there. You had mentioned that you're always looking at doing a traffic study on this. What I'd like to see though, as part of the traffic study, is something that's above and beyond what you normally receive. Here's trip counts. Okay. What we would really need to see for this site is what is the anticipated stacking, and show it how it would come out from the kiosk, go into the road, or actually go into the rest of the plaza area. That actually is part of the study itself, showing proposed traffic movement within the plaza, going back to what I mentioned before, so that it doesn't impact the other businesses in the area. My concern is that you have several other restaurants in the area, Hooligans being one of them. There are 2 other places in the area, some other businesses along the front that do have to have their own parking associated with them. And that with this thing, if it starts generating, especially with the tunnel type car wash that all the other ones have, where you start generating a huge amount of traffic coming through it, that those businesses, people aren't going to have access to them. And that this proposed location for this car wash will wind up having really a detriment on all the other businesses that are already in there. So that as we plan traffic flow through this thing, is how to really demonstrate that you're going to mitigate that impact on the other tenants in the place.
Yeah, I think as we develop the site plans, the trip trends and the traffic would be something we need to look at and address.
Because this is on the state highway, they just finished the improvement project out there, some kind of feedback from the state on their opinion of the traffic and the potential for it to stack out onto Ridge Road too. Looking at the other locations, and particularly the condition of the asphalt at the transition from the driveway areas and the public highway area, and how it really doesn't hold up from the increased wetness and salt. Something special being done to the actual sub-base and design of the parking area. And if there's any kind of hardening that needs to be done in the entranceway going out to Ridge Road. Both on Ridge and onto the 5 mile line.
You have that tunnel there for the car wash. How close is that from, it looks like it's from the property line from the lot number 3. You only have about 25 feet. It's kind of tight in there. Car wash, in other words, car wash is almost right connected to the building on lot 3. It's very close.
Also too, that where employees park, and dumpsters and anything else, there's nothing shown up, because with the lanes going in there,
Parking lot.
So, yeah, there is the plaza parking lot that can be utilized, which would allow employee parking to park away from the car wash and not use up any of the spaces near there.
dumpsters, you need that?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm gonna let Brian.
So in the tunnel, there's about a 8-foot aisle down the left side of the tunnel. That's for mechanical space, and also typically we use like garbage toters rather than dumpsters. So it's not out in the field of the parking lot.
See, that stuff we can take care of that. To me, it's the traffic, it's the location, it's another operation that's not even zoned for it. And are we encouraged? I know you don't like that word encouraging, but are we putting something in that we need? I don't know. We do traffic studies and everything else, but we can we make those work to however we need. It's just reality of we know what the heck is there. I don't need a traffic study to look at, goes on there, I go there every day. I'm up and down that thing 5 times a day at least.
What really has attracted us to this use in this area is, number one, there's a good population, especially down 5 Mile Line.
Sure.
And there probably are people down 5 Mile Line right now that are driving over to the Daniele's car wash. So we will help solve that problem because they can come to this car wash. Number two, we have a whole bunch of car dealerships that are right around us. Some of them do have their own wash mechanism, but it's a pretty labor-intensive wash system. It's hand wash. And if we can strike a contract with some of these people, they can come and at least use the laser wash or the tunnel and get a whole lot more cars washed in a short period of time than what they currently do on their own property. So we think we have a good marketplace for this car wash. I think this board reviewed a concept for a car wash from a gentleman by the name of Mark Landers about 8 to 10 months ago. At least came before the staff review. And Mark Landers owns a couple of car washes in town, one in Victor, the Victor car wash, and the Farrington car wash. And he's the one, he decided after the Daniele's built, he doesn't like building his car washes near them, that this wasn't for him, and he had another piece of property in mind, so he's moved on to that, not in your town, but in town. We think this is a tremendous use for this property, and as Chris had mentioned earlier, the site plan for this Webster Woods actually has another building proposed where this car wash is. Another good-sized building. I'm going to guess it's in the range of probably 30,000 square feet. And we simply cannot find a tenant for that building. That's something that we need to demonstrate when you apply for a use variance to meet a hardship.
Yeah.
And our hardship is that we just cannot lease this parcel out to anybody. We've got space available in the plaza. There is a fair amount of turnover. We seem to keep it fairly full. But because of that, we don't have space for another tenant, or space that another tenant would desire to use on this site. So again, we think this is a great use in place of that. It doesn't require the amount of parking that was around the original building. That too would generate more traffic in and out of this site, but we think we can handle the traffic that would be generated with the car wash, and we can hopefully satisfy that concern with the study that we're doing.
I know there was an application, well, I don't know if they did make an application for the corner stores there, the carpet store, whatever, right on the corner. They wanted to put car wash, and there was no way in heck that was ever gonna happen in there. I mean, it's crazy, because of the traffic around there. You know? This is just one notch above that, that's it. I mean, it's.
You mentioned the Landers. I believe they gave a proposal to the front of the planning board on Ridge Road area where the kennel is at the present time.
Yeah.
Years ago, when we discouraged the car wash
That's
there.
right, that's right, that's right. Right next to the bars.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's why they came to our site and started talking to us, because of that instance.
Well, the concern there again was, you know, the size of it and the traffic and location of it. So that's why it never really went anywhere. If I'm not mistaken, there are a couple, correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, but I think the people actually bought that piece of property too, and they were stuck with it for a long time. Unfortunate, but either here or there. I don't know. You can't get a variance. I guess you can try getting a variance, but I really have an issue with the traffic there, and it's like when Royal went in, people are like, "Would that you guys ever approve something like that? The traffic on the Ridge Road now, and blah blah blah." We hear it all the time. I know the property is there, and it's usable piece, and it's approved. But what it's approved for isn't what we're looking at. And I'm just like we're putting something in there that shouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't know.
Unfortunately, the way the town code is written is car washes are only allowed in a district that's called your outdoor storage district,
Right.
which is typically the district that a car wash, or that a car dealership is in. Why it's not allowed in a general business district, I can't answer that, but that's the difficulty that we're faced with, and that's why we have a use variance application.
But that's the same thing when people keep coming in, they wanna put a car dealership in a place where it's not allowed. How many car dealerships do we need? You know, we're back to the same, we're going in a circle with it.
Well, maybe if our auto manufacturers built the cars better, we wouldn't have to buy
Yeah,
some.
that's nice, right. I don't know what to tell you, it's, I know there's,
Like I said before, my primary issue with this, and comparing it to the other one, is this particular proposal encourages a significant amount of traffic inside of an active parking lot, whereas the Denali proposal was off of an internal road, it was part of that development, it offered some sort of stacking, and it didn't have, again, this thing had, in my perspective, has a potential detriment on the existing tenants in the rest of the plaza. I also know that there are certain times where the overlap between the peak use on this thing is going to coincide with the peak use of what's going on over at TC Boulevard. And there are times when just the patrons that go to TC Hooligans take up almost 75–80% of the parking spaces that are out there.
Maybe the patrons of TC Hooligans can get a deal, they can get their car washed while they're in
But
the
they
restaurant.
potentially get that, seeing that you have a large number of people wanting to go back and forth with their cars, intermixed with a very high traffic level coming through there at the same time. You know, to me, it's, again, a safety concern, getting in and out of Ridge Road, safety concern for pedestrians within the plaza itself, and also potential detriment on the tenants of the existing plaza.
I thought with the approval of the other one, it wouldn't be such a bad deal with traffic, because, 6 o'clock when traffic's going by, well, it's probably kind of dead in a car wash, not so. They're there. And Hooligans, places like that, this is their prime time.
The one advantage though that Royal Car Wash had with that location is that if you're gonna make a left-hand turn out of that complex, you got a signal light to do that.
Yeah.
With this, you don't, and I tell you,
No, I
I
agree.
go in this plaza 3 nights a week, and it's tough to get in, and it's forget about left-hand turn. So the only alternative is, like Derek said, you're gonna have to go out through the project and get out on 5 Mile Line Road, which I just don't see use there.
Actually, tying back to one of my comments on the Bluegrass application about creating a restriction or a blind spot in that area, and you mentioned that exists already. I'm just, again, concerned about the increased amount of traffic going on, making maneuvers to get out of the 5 Mile Lane.
As we promised, we will study that, and really our next step, if you will, is I believe we need to make a preliminary application to this board, because we have to get to that level with the zoning board before they make a decision on the use variance. So if it's acceptable to this board, we would make an application along with this traffic analysis, and so that we could talk more intelligently about what the movements of cars are going to be with this facility.
Yeah, if you choose this, you have the right to do that, yeah, sure. If you show something different than what I know through there, we'll look at it, I'll look at it, but knowing what I see, I'm not comfortable with it, really not.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate the input.
Okay. All right. Take care of that.
requesting special use permit of hearing to establish 606 square foot machine shop to create in-house mechanical prototypes associated with their business. The proposal is located on a lot area of 3.54 acres, located in the MC district, medium commercial, under the Port of Webster.
Good evening. I'm Richard Rosen, representing Webster Woods LLC, and I'm the architect for the building and any modifications we did to it. You, of course, do remember the very dynamic presentation that John made 2 weeks ago, and there's really nothing that I would have to add other than to put this in perspective, again, particularly in relationship to the rather large issues we're dealing with in the last 2 applications. We're talking about the importance in high-tech manufacturing of being able to prototype the product before taking it to market and before having it manufactured, which would be done elsewhere in large commercial machine shops elsewhere. This is just a matter of a machine that will be used, John stated, if you average out the whole week, 2 hours per week for the skilled mechanic to fashion these and make little prototypes. And so I will turn it over to him to put that in further perspective and answer any questions you may have.
I'm John Marcian with Grand Photonics. So yeah, I had a packet for you guys last week. I appreciate you giving us the time last week, and again, seeing us here from the special use permit. What I've got here is, again, to recap, we've got our machine, and the reason we need it is right now it's about a 6 to 8 week lead time. It's been that way for about 3 years now to get things made at a machine shop, local machine shop. There are rapid services that you can get, rapid machine services that you can basically mail, right? So you email a file and then you get your part, but they're not precise enough for what we need. So based on this, again, if we have to make 2 iterations of a prototype or 3 iterations of just a piece, we're talking, maybe 38 weeks. I mean, this is a horrible amount of time for us to wait. If we had a machine, we can make one part per week. Try it, make it, try it, etc. So we're talking roughly about 2 hours per week, averaged over the year. Again, the plan for us is to just make prototype components, just test, revise, improve and simplify our manufacturing process, and then we're actually going to get bulk parts machined out of metal. Those will, once we have it designed, those will go to the machine shops that permeate our area in Monroe County. Yes?
No, I was raising my hand.
Oh.
When you send it, work out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, give me your card, yeah. So the other thing, we did, we're looking at, how is this machine going to impact our neighbors? We're not doing high-speed cutting of metal. It's going to be low speed because we need precision. So our range in decibels is 50 to 70 dB, decibels. On this, the prior tenants in the space, by the way, was essentially a jungle gym for little kids, so it was pretty noisy. But on this chart here, I've got, showing the refrigerator at about 50, a paper shredder can go up to 70, toilet flushing at 75, and a whole bunch of food service industries, components like garbage disposals, dishwashers, food blenders are 80 and up. So the noise impact, even in terms of an office type space in a normal conversation, is around 60 decibels. So the noise, just in a regular enclosed office space, this should not be a problem. But we are also planning on having additional sound and vibration insulation in the walls, in the ceiling, and even under the machine feet, just to make sure, because we want to make sure that nobody's dissatisfied with having the machine nearby.
Now, once you install this machine and you're in operation, you've got, would you say, about half a dozen people in the area that are working upstairs, downstairs?
Yeah, so right now, we've got seven people upstairs right now. Mike Quino, our machinist, he's right here. I shouldn't say machinist, he's a jack of all trades, but he actually builds these machines. He trains people in the safe operation of these machines. He's got his own company. He's setting up these machines for people, his own maker space as well. But yeah, so he'd be the operator of the machine when we would need it for the few hours a week.
Okay, so then when it's not in use, it's just there?
It's just gonna sit there quietly doing nothing.
Okay, now, in a year or so, does this business grow, or do you put more?
No, this is gonna be strictly for prototyping. Like I said, anytime we get to the point where, you know, we're ready to manufacture, that's gonna go to the existing machine shop.
Okay.
It's not cost effective for us to manufacture.
Okay, gotcha. That was a concern.
Yeah.
The growth is just as a result of what this thing does.
I mean, yes, basically, so we make our prototypes, test them out, once we have them, then we can go get them machined at a qualified shop.
I don't know, really, we didn't really see any issues last year. Anybody, any concerns or?
This is the only question I have about it is, it's a machine, it makes parts that is generating hazardous materials.
No, we're basically, it's stainless steel, and is what it's cutting. There's a coolant that's used, but it's not a spray, it's a flow. And it's self-contained, and then when we have to change that, which will be approximately every 2 years, about the same period that we need to get the permit updated. There's a service that comes out, and they do it, so we don't have to handle any of it. But it's also, we have the MSDS sheet for that, and it's not toxic. So putting it on.
It doesn't connect to the sewers or anything?
No, not at all.
Any concern about air emissions from this?
No, again, because it's not a misting. It doesn't work by misting the coolant. It's a flow, so there's no aerosols, and it's also self-contained in a closed system.
Okay.
Yeah, that all right.
No smells or odors that are gonna go anyplace else in the building?
Not, I mean, Mike, you can talk about it. I think the answer is no from his experience. He's used these machines for 25 years at this low level.
So, Mike, the primary issue with that would be if the coolant goes sour, I guess you call it, if it grows bacteria. The primary conditions for that to happen are when coolant or lubricant from the machine waste goes into the coolant. This machine has provisions to prevent that from happening. It uses grease rather than oil. So the manufacturer stands behind that isn't an issue. And with the low amount of use that we're going to have on it, it really shouldn't be an issue.
I think that machine also has a filtering system on it too.
It does have, yeah.
Which is a changeable filter, like that. You're probably using a water soluble base too.
Yeah.
Right, so it's not
And the coolants are engineered to not do that. In older systems and older technology, that was an issue with this.
What's your definition of low?
Low
Amount of usage?
2 hours a week-ish.
Okay, thank you.
So we're moving under 225-17 subdivision 23 for the planning board to determine that this is an accessory use to an allowed permitted use. What's the permitted use?
Office.
So why would,
The permitted use is.
you're much smarter than I am,
engineering
Mr. Rosen,
marketing.
how is fabrication incidental and subordinate to office?
Let me, office is town terminology. Within that is marketing, engineering, and product creation. And this is part of the product creation, so it can be
Where is that
marketed
in our
and sold.
code?
Well,
I see office, but I don't see those subcategories that you're.
professionals, these are professionals, some licensed, some not, engineers. Engineers work in offices. That's a permitted use within your office, within your definition of office use.
And these subcategories are in our code? I don't see them. Perhaps I would.
Well, there's something in the building code is very explicit as to what office use includes, and it's professionals, and as opposed to retail services. It's-
Okay. And you have a copy of this building code you could provide to me?
The state building code, yes, of course.
And you would iterate the categories that you're suggesting?
Absolutely, yes. It's
Okay,
not
great,
retail
we'll need a
services.
copy of that.
Okay.
Okay, so my next, I have a few questions, Tony, I could ask. So it's part of 228 requires the planning board to show that the proposed accessory use is in general harmony with and promote the general purposes and intent of the most recent comprehensive plan and the town zoning code. No, but he concluded it. I mean, like in his application, he just states the conclusion, he doesn't tell me how he arrived at the conclusion. So I know what you're trying to do. I want to know how you're getting there, because my job is to protect this board and to make sure that have a rational basis for our decisions and a reasoned elaboration as how does 2 + 2 = 4, not just tell me the answer is 4.
Would you like me to elaborate on that?
No, because I want to ask my questions first, and then you can elaborate, because you're going to have to elaborate anyway. Okay, so the current zoning according to the 2008 comprehensive plan, the current zoning in the MC district in permitted uses is retail, service uses, professional offices, restaurants, etc. But the town code says under 225:17, the intent in creating this district is to provide a choice of business locations for commercial uses, furnishing a wide range of goods and services. So I guess my question is, how does this fabrication accessory use promote the commercial use? To be in harmony with the zoning ordinance and the town comprehensive plan.
The plaza was designed as a mixed-use plaza to include offices as well as retail service businesses. And this is ancillary to that office function. The comprehensive plan, I can't cite the specifics, but I presume it reflects the fact that it should accommodate products that are in demand and in need and built and increase the viability of the economy of Monroe County. And this is an office use which does all of those things, and it is necessary, as was explained. It would be a tremendous hardship for them to have to go out with the time delay and the extra cost involved in doing the prototyping off-site in other businesses.
How does the current service meet townwide needs? What needs are there for the services that are proposed by this tenant?
That's on a regional basis. The metropolitan area, Monroe County, needs and encourages the newest technologies to enable, so that the workforce will stay local and have employment here.
Okay.
And attract new businesses. And this is absolutely part of that.
So is there any data which would show, for example, in other areas, like I looked on the website, I Googled it, like in California, could they show, the applicant or the proposed tenant show that, hey, we made these prototypes, we sold it in this town, and this is how much it helped the town?
I mean, we can already state that our preliminary engineering work, which largely was done out of my office at home, led to, now we have a business, we have 7 employees, we're paying rent, we're using local services now to get things manufactured. The employees are spending locally as they're on the way to work, at their lunch breaks, on the way home, whether it's food services, car washes, sales choices. That was kind of intentional. But so the money is not only going to pay salaries for high-tech jobs for people who are, it's already happened, but they're already spending money in gym memberships, right? So there's already money being spent right in Webster because we have these employees that otherwise wouldn't be here without this technology.
So if I understand you correctly, tell me if I'm wrong, because I got this pea brain, but so what you're going to do is you're saying to me that you're meeting townwide needs by the consequential effects of the sales of your product in Monroe County in general, but not specifically in the town of Webster. Because gym memberships, jobs, etc. But you're not showing sales in the town of Webster to be any town need for the product that you're making. Correct? Is that what I'm understanding?
Now my pea brain has to understand, do you mean like selling to the people of Webster?
Right. One of the goals of the district, though, it says such establishments should be scaled to meet townwide needs. I just don't see the connection between what your prototype is, you're farming it out to manufacturing facilities, right? And then they're gonna develop it on a massive scale. But how does that help the town need? And my understanding is you're saying, well, we're providing jobs, which I think is a wonderful thing. We're having gym memberships. So it's the consequential effects of the prototype that you're gonna farm out. That's what you're saying, that's how you're meeting the townwide needs. Did I understand that correctly?
Yep.
Because you're not selling.
We're not gonna sell this.
Your prototype to some business in Webster.
Correct.
So there's gonna be no sales generated to the town of Webster from the sale of your product, directly from you.
Correct.
In which case, that could be with 1,000 different businesses in town that manufacture in town and sell things all over the world, not necessarily to Webster. You know, I see what you're saying, but you know what you can do is, those are all good points there. Looking at the standards for the special use permit, if we just go through that and what the impact, like adjacent properties, is there an impact on adjacent properties? No, there isn't. It's similar use to what's in there now.
I'm really not concerned about the other factors. I don't think this applicant can show that it meets the general, or promotes the comprehensive plan or the general intent of the zoning district. It's not in harmony with it. That's my position. And this is not the first rodeo we've had with Mark IV. And it's always, we don't get the full picture. We always have to, you know, it's like find the rabbit. We have to chase them to get them in here to present this application to us. And I'm very concerned that 606 square feet is going to modulate into 806 square feet, 1,006 square feet.
So what?
So we need to know those things, Tony.
Well, that's okay, but right now, that's not what they're asking for the 600 feet. So if they want to add on or do something, and again, a special use permit is only good for, what is it, down 1 to 5 years, so we can make it for a year. We can make the special use permit to...
But that's assuming argument that can meet every single standard in the special use permit. That's a requirement. And if they can't meet the general intent or in harmony with...
These are the standards, right?
No. You have to go...
You did not get a full answer. You got John's part of the micro. I want to give you the macro part of the answer. Webster is an integral part of the Finger Lakes Regional Development Council area. We have regional objectives, which are recognized by the state and which are funded. This is one of the specific industrial areas that is important to the growth of the county. Xerox certainly learned that it is not a standalone business within one town. The health of this metropolitan area is a part and parcel part of the town of Webster's ability to meet its objectives for economic growth. And this is a high priority economic development area as documented by the Regional Development Council's stated priorities and funds that they've allocated. So by taking a regional approach, one can say that this is the growth of Webster as an integral part of this metropolitan area.
Can I ask you a question? You make a prototype, and then you send it someplace to be produced if you're going to mass produce this, right?
Correct.
Are there any businesses in Webster that could do that particular job if they so choose to do so?
My machinist is gone. I actually don't know if there are machine shops in Webster.
There is.
There is. Okay. So there we go.
So all they got to be is a machine shop.
That's the function of having this, is to get a prototype that can be made in a machine shop.
So then it is possible that you could be helping other businesses in Webster.
Absolutely.
And giving them work.
Yeah.
I think that helps.
Well, when they were in a couple weeks ago, we went through all of this, and I thought we were okay with the operation. Their point, and that's well taken, is, look, it's a small operation, and we don't need to be here. We can go back to San Diego and do it. Was that not? Yeah.
There's pressure to go back to San Diego.
Yeah. So here you've got floor space, existing floor space. It's a clean operation. I don't know, a comprehensive plan, that if we followed that comprehensive plan, where would we be right now? So I'm just looking at the standards that are required.
But it says, under 22842, the planning board shall issue a special use permit only upon a finding that each and all of the following conditions, you can't pick and choose. You can't say that they meet one, but they don't meet the others.
That's what I'm trying to show you right here.
And I don't think they can show that they meet, well, that's what I would recommend to the board. I don't think they can show they meet subdivision A, that they're promoting in general harmony with the general purposes of the comprehensive plan and the town zoning ordinance. The other stuff, I think they actually probably do meet. But you'd have to make that finding.
Personally, I think that they do.
Well, it's fine, if you want to make that finding, but you're opening up.
Well, the reason that I do is that this particular piece of equipment is a tool in the engineering process. Much like you're out on your computer, using AutoCAD on it, using a scale to measure dimensions on a drawing. This is a tool to produce a prototype in a timely manner so that you know that that prototype works before you put it out to production. It is simply an engineering instrument. It is not the ultimate product that's being produced.
It's just a cabinet.
And so this thing,
and a computer.
Yeah.
Derek's absolutely right.
and so in this perspective, it's promoting the business, this particular development, engineering effort that goes into creating what the final product is on it. It's a tool that allows the growth of that particular business. And the business is the professional organization that's doing the design.
It's your call. I don't know. But I would encourage you, if you are inclined to grant the special use permit, assuming arguendo, that you can make findings of each and every one of these elements, that you put a tight leash on it.
Let's do it.
And you have
We're
a
just wasting time.
duration.
I agree.
No, don't make it 5 years.
No,
That's my
no,
recommendation.
no.
Make them come back.
I agree. When you were going through that, I was thinking, here's Rose scrolling notes, we can go through this thing quickly. We can just work it together.
Let's do it.
All right, number one, we just beat that one, and Derek hit that. Number B is impact on the district. The location, the size, the use, the nature, intensity of the operation involved in or conducted in connection with size and site is related to it, and location of the site with respect to streets, giving access, so on and so forth. So is it in harmony with the development in the area? Yes, it is. I think it matches perfectly fine. It's a very low impact. Impact on the district, let's see. Adjacent properties, location, nature. Well, I don't see there's any impact on the neighbors.
It's an internal process.
Exactly. And they're even going to the extent of added additional insulation. I believe the decibels was only 70 or something, I think you said. Which is minor. I mean, flushing your toilet is 75, so, you know. All right, impact on neighboring properties. Well, that is in the center of that plaza that's owned by the developer, and they're okay with this. So the neighbors are what? Mucci's and where is it?
Restaurants?
Yeah, it's a mixed use operation.
To the,
So there's no impact on the adjoining neighbors.
More immediate neighborhood.
Impact on the surrounding properties. It's far enough away from any of the adjoining neighboring properties. The neighboring properties would be the gas station on the corner there, the car dealer to the west. So really, that's not an impact on them. That's what I was looking at. Traffic use, okay, traffic, there's use shall not cause undue traffic congestion. Contrary to what we were just looking at. Which one do you think is the easier one here?
it's not gonna cause any more
No,
traffic.
of course not. Parking, minimal number of parking spaces, and parking spaces are already there when the project was developed to accommodate the square footage of the building, so that's covered. H, services, use of appropriate location with respect to transportation facilities, water supply, we got all that, so that is not an issue. Seeker, all requirements of seeker will be met, okay, that can be taken care of. Additional standards, special uses shall also be subject to any and all applicable local, state, federal laws. Additional standards and requirements the planning board may be reasonably requested And I think if you look on the code, I think we can give from 1 to 5 years. And I would suggest somewhere in the range of 2 years. You just come back in, how you doing? You know, is everything going well? And you go from there. If you wanted to do something else, well, we would have to add to it or do whatever at that point. But I think it's.
I think that's a resolution.
Actually, I would make that as a recommendation. We'll call it an approval, I think approval for special use permit for a Photronics machine room at 805 Ridge Road, and make it subject to reapproval in, what do you say, guys? 1 to 5 years?
2 years.
2 years, okay? So 2 years. In 2 years, the applicant is to reappear for an update on its current status at that point, okay? And we'll base it on, yeah, should we just leave it at that? Have you? Okay. See, like I just wrote notes, like no impact on neighbors, I just wrote notes on it. All right, well, I'll get together with you, it'll be basically granting it on what the standards for all special use permits requires. And I'll just get together and just reiterate it with what we just said, okay? Is that good enough for you guys?
Yeah.
All right.
Based on the findings you just.
Okay, so that would be a motion.
Second.
Mr. Kashani.
Aye.
Mr. Mixel.
Aye.
Mr. Rampy.
Aye.
Mr. Kosel.
Aye.
Mr. Anderson.
Aye.
Mr. Malta.
Aye.
Mr. Arena.
Aye.
Okay, we're all set.
Thank you very much.
Just one of the things that are mentioned, seeker, I do have a motion for.
You probably
I
should have.
applaud your picking the I rarely hear it. I appreciate your role here.
If you don't mind.
You're a good foil for the rest of the board.
You gotta make one more, you gotta make a resolution.
I got this.
Yeah. Yeah, we did skip it.
And I don't want to sound like a broken record, Tony, but I'm a hearing, anyone for it, that's.
Yeah. Anybody here for a public hearing? Okay. All right, public hearing? Yeah.
Town of Webster Planning Board consider a request by applicant RIM Photonics located at 805 Ridge Road to establish a 606 square foot machine shop for creating in-house mechanical prototypes associated with the business. The proposal is located in a lot having 3.5 or 54 acres, having SPO number 079.18-1-69.111, located in MC Commercial District. The planning board determined that the proposed action is an unlisted action under section 617 of the state environmental quality review regulations. The planning board determined that the action is subject to single agency review pursuant to part 617.6B1 of seeker, and that is the most appropriate agency for making the determination of significance. The planning board therefore designates itself lead agency for the proposed action. The planning board has given consideration to the criteria for determining significance as set forth in section 617.7C1 of seeker, and has, number one, considered the information contained in the short environmental assessment form, part 1 dated March 5th, 2019. Number two, considered public comments directed at the planning board during the public hearing on March 19th, 2019. And number three, completed part 2 of the environmental assessment form. Now therefore be resolved that the Town of Webster Planning Board hereby determines that the proposed action will not have a significant adverse effect on the environment for the reasons set forth in the attached notice of determination of non-significance. Be it further resolved that the Town of Webster Planning Board is authorized to take actions reasonable and necessary to file a negative declaration and discharge the Town of Webster Planning Board's responsibility as lead agency for this action. Be it further resolved that the Town of Webster Planning Board, based on the information and analysis above, the reference supporting documentation, the discussions of the action in the Town of Webster's Planning Board meeting is documented in the minutes for this meeting, that the proposed action will not have a significant environmental impacts. Be it further resolved that the Town of Webster Planning Board therefore makes a determination of non-significance. Be it further resolved that the Town of Webster Planning Board, based on the above action, above reasons, issues a negative declaration as evidence of its determination.
Second. Okay, you have a motion.
Okay, Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Rampy?
Aye.
Mr. Mixel?
Aye.
Mr. Coastal?
Aye.
Mr. Malta?
Aye.
Mr. Arena?
Aye.
Mr. Kachani?
Okay, now you're all set, I guess. Good luck with that project.
Thank you.
Raj, you have to file a special use permit with the county. Do you want to get together with the applicant for that to occur?
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Then,
Okay, I guess that's it. And
Richard, you need a
Mr. Ready, thanks for
use
coming in.
permit for this, for your tenant, okay? So you probably want to stop by the town hall tomorrow morning, thank you, okay? Administrative change of use permit, you have a new tenant?
And I give that to the building inspector, will be perfect.
Very good, thank you.
We have minutes for March 5th.
yeah, but
A motion to approve the minutes of our March 5th meeting.
Second.
I don't think there was any ever amended, was it?
No.
All in favor?
Aye. Anyone opposed? Any questions?
Okay.